you probably didn't notice. But while you're walking to the kitchen, parking your car, or simply sleeping peacefully at night, a war is happening, right beneath your feet. Not some tiny argument between insects, a brutal war. Organized, strategic, with soldiers, invasions, espionage, ambushes, and even kidnappings. And the strangest part? All of this is happening right now. Under your house, in your backyard, maybe even inside your walls. Because ants don't just live together, they live in empires. And some of those empires are constantly trying to erase others from existence. But that's not even the most disturbing part. What's truly unsettling is realizing how much they resemble us. If you see an ant walking across the ground, you probably think the same thing most people do. It's just an ant. Tiny, insignificant, almost automatic. But scientists started noticing something uncomfortable. A single ant is limited. But thousands of them together? It's almost like watching a collective mind, a distributed intelligence, as if an entire city were thinking at once. And that's where everything changes. Because beneath your feet, underground cities are operating 24 hours a day, with complex tunnels, food storage chambers, nurseries, makeshift hospitals, waste disposal zones, emergency routes, natural ventilation systems. Some colonies are so sophisticated, they regulate temperature better than certain human buildings. And we're not talking about dozens of inhabitants. Some colonies contain millions, sometimes billions. But when multiple empires occupy the same territory, peace rarely lasts. Somewhere, near you, at this exact moment, two colonies may already be watching each other. No sound, no warning, no visible clues for humans. But for them, the tension has already begun, because ants recognize one another through scent. Each colony carries what is essentially a chemical identity, like an invisible passport. And if the wrong ant crosses the border, the response can be immediate. Attack. No negotiation. No second chances. But this isn't chaotic warfare. That might be the most disturbing detail of all. They seem to follow strategy. First come the scouts, spies, tiny units sent to map territory, locate entrances, measure resources, identify weaknesses. Sometimes one ant discovers a rival colony, returns home, and just hours later, a full invasion begins, thousands advancing in near-perfect coordination, as if someone gave an order, except no one did. Or at least, not the way we imagine. And this is where the story gets even stranger. Because ants don't have generals, no presidents, no military commanders. So who's controlling everything? The answer sounds impossible. No one. Or everyone at once. Each ant follows invisible chemical signals called pheromones. One discovers danger, leaves a trail. Another detects it, strengthens the warning. Within minutes, thousands respond, as if there were a centralized plan. But there never was one. The system is so complex that scientists sometimes describe an ant colony as a superorganism, as if the entire colony were actually one living being, and each ant just a single cell in a much larger body, which raises an unsettling possibility. Maybe you've never actually seen an ant. Maybe you've only ever seen a tiny piece of something much bigger. But wait. Because the underground war becomes even more brutal. Some species simply fight. Others enslave. It sounds like science fiction, but it's real. Certain ant species invade rival colonies, steal eggs, and raise enemy offspring as workers. Yes, they kidnap children. The stolen eggs hatch believing they belong to their new colony and spend their entire lives working for the very empire that stole them, without ever knowing. But even that isn't the strangest part. Some species launch suicide, attacks, literally. When threatened, certain ants rupture their own bodies and release toxic chemicals onto enemies, like soldiers programmed to die for the colony. And suddenly, that tiny trail near your driveway feels a lot less ordinary. Because what looks like random dots moving across the ground could actually be an army on a mission. But perhaps the most disturbing case of all is happening silently, and almost nobody notices. Have you ever heard of super colonies? Imagine an empire so massive, it doesn't stop at your backyard, or your neighborhood, or even your city. Some invasive species have formed gigantic interconnected networks of nests. No internal conflict, no borders, almost like a continental civilization. The Argentine ant, for example, has built super colonies stretching thousands of miles. Essentially, a giant underground empire. And when these colonies arrive in new environments, they don't coexist. They replace. They erase native species, take control, reshape entire ecosystems, all while remaining nearly invisible, as humans barely notice. But this may not even be the strangest part, because there's something deeply familiar about ant warfare. Think about it for a second. Territory, resources, borders, espionage, expansion, war, collective sacrifice, empires competing for dominance. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Maybe that's what makes this so unsettling, because when you look closely, ants begin to feel like a distorted reflection of us, except for one difference. They've been doing this for millions of years, without the internet, without language, without leaders, without technology. And somehow, they still built invisible civilizations that survive, fight, adapt, and expand beneath our feet. Every single day, without pause, without witnesses, without recognition. And maybe the strangest thought of all is this. The next time you look down at the ground, you may not be looking at insects. You may be staring at an active war zone, still happening, right now, directly beneath you.